hands on South Main Street. They have gone from 100 families in 2021 to 600 families a week. There's so much going on that there's not enough food today in a lot of our food pantries, that they're not giving out meat as much as they were. The TFAP program, which is a federal program, has been reduced, continues to be reduced. And so we're seeing greater need. And the greater the need is, the more it impacts not only our physical health, but our mental health as well. There's also the spiritual side to all this. So we're going to talk about some of these issues. We're going to talk a lot about nutrition. I will throw this out there. I am not a nutrition expert. I wouldn't look like this. All right? So, well, again, we're very thankful. And if you have questions, please ask it. And what I'd like for you to do is to carry the conversation forward. When we first started talking about hunger and High Point, people were saying, well, there's no such issue. There are no hungry people in High Point. And people just didn't know that we were number one in the nation in food hardship. Unless we carry these conversations forward to our friends, our faith community members, the word will never get out. And I always encourage people, spend time with me. Go to a local food pantry. Do this work, and you'll see how great the need is. So again, if we can get all the panelists to come up here, we'll let everybody introduce themselves. All right, so what we're going to do is we'll go down the line. My name is Carl Veerland. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater High Point Food Alliance. And we work on the issue of food insecurity and hunger from a 50,000-foot view. Connecting resources, doing a lot of advocacy, bringing resources into the community. So I want to mention two things. We have our next food summit on September 19th. This is where we bring folks together. It's always a different topic. This year we're talking about the pathways to change. Last year we talked about food systems. This year we're talking about the pathways to change, sustainable change. We'll talk about issues like data and advocacy, trauma-informed patriarchal relations, and how to actually maintain and sustain the nonprofit. The second thing is that we've got these different vendors. Please visit with the vendors and talk with them. But one of the things that we do twice a year is that we publish what's called a community resource guide. And on the back of the resource guide, you've got a QR code where you can actually scan it. This app is called the Greater Guilford Food Finder. It has all the resources in Guilford County and the Greater High Point area. Not only food pantries, but mental health, homelessness, financial services, that type of stuff. I would recommend anybody working frontline who's a social worker, download this app. We've had over 80,000 views within the last 12 months. That'll tell you how great the need is.
Thank you, Carl. Good morning or afternoon. At this point, my name is Candace. I'm the owner of Triad with Coach Candace, so I am a health and wellness coach based here in High Point, and also the founding executive director of TCC Community Health Foundation, where we go out into the community and share health and wellness. I don't believe anybody in this room desires to be that healthy. Oftentimes we lack the keys to success in the area of health and wellness. Really a sum total of everything we've been taught, right? So people cook even the way that our parents cooked, or the way that our grandparents cooked, and oftentimes they'll say, well, this runs in your family. Well, it doesn't. It's just no one in the family changed the narrative, right? And so my foundation encourages people to kind of unlearn and then relearn with a different outlook so that we can be our true best selves. And so I love this topic, mindful eating as it pertains to the way we support our minds, because we're busy. We're a busy society. We're going to and fro wearing many, many different hats as mom, wife, and I just want room, that you can only be as good as mom, wife, dad, caregiver to your elderly parents as you are to yourselves. And so let's talk about how nutrition is so vitally important to how we show up for our families, how we show up for our community. And so I'll pass the mic to Alicia, but I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alicia Caldwell. I am the main nutrition educator and founder of Live Better, where we're hoping to better lives through nutrition literacy. For a few years now, my story has been, what I shared was based on what I did. I struggle with doing nutrition education because no one wants to hear nutrition from a fat girl. But I've lost 170 pounds, and no one knows the struggle like someone is walking in. Nothing wrong with someone skinny coming out of school, but there is value in what I do and what I have to add to the conversation. To piggyback on what Candace said, we like to focus on generational health. Everyone knows and tries to instill, hopefully, in their children the ability to have the money that you need to get through life. But what about the health? When my mother lived with me for a year and a half after I had a stroke, I saw what she did to deal with stress. I saw how much she was in her Bible. But once your children are out of your house, do they know that you're at risk for prediabetes, so you change your diet? You know, like she said, you're passing down, especially in the Black community, recipes from generations, but you're also passing down diabetes. And so where we're looking, it has to be unlearning some behaviors. Lastly, I'd like to say that when I speak, I say this quote that has profoundly impacted me by a nationally known nutritionist, and it's every time you eat or drink, you're either feeding disease or fighting it. And to truly understand that, you have to have some type of health literacy and nutrition literacy. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Katie Holder. I'm a registered dietitian. I'm also a certified eating disorder specialist. I have a private practice in downtown Greensboro. I work with individuals all across the eating disorder spectrum. And mental health and nutrition is pretty much what I do every day when I go into work. So individuals who struggle with anorexia or bulimia or binge eating disorder, individuals who have severe OCD and severe food phobias, we challenge it, we work on it. Kids who have texture aversions or sensory processing disorder or on the spectrum and have feeding difficulties because of that, that's what I do. And you know, this subject is near and dear to my heart because, you know, I was talking with Amber earlier, we can only help what's in our mind if the rest of our body is in a good place. And there's lots of research, lots of experience that shows that if we are not nourished consistently and adequately, it's really challenging to do the mental work to help us to feel better. Whatever that is, whether that's anxiety, depression, or clinical OCD. I'm also a mom of 7. My oldest is 13, my youngest is 10, and I am very passionate about family feeding. Any type of mental disorder that we treat, one of the foundational things we do is getting kids to eat with their parents again, bringing everybody back to that family meal no matter what that looks like. So I'm thrilled to be here, thrilled to talk about this subject, and look forward to diving in.
Hello, my name is Amber Reed, and I am a National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach and a qualified professional in mental health as well. So my goal is to really connect the two between nutrition and mental health, and so in that pursuit, I'm getting my doctorate in clinical nutrition. But I do have my own private practice doing health and wellness coaching until hopefully I get licensure, like we were just discussing. But yeah, there is a lot of benefit, and I've heard so many different things that's going down the line, you know, changing behaviors, and that's one of the main things that I focus on. How can we change those behaviors to bring in that quality nutrition to support not only the mind, but the body. Because like one of the people who I listen to, like he says, we have a neck, right? We can't just look at the head. We have to look at the whole piece. There is a neck, it connects the two. So that's a little bit about me. I'll pass the mic.
My name is Justice Terry. I'm a personal trainer and a nutrition coach. I also own a personal training studio. We offer personal training, small group classes, nutrition coaching, and we work with companies where we do group classes there. We do things like this, like lunch and learns, things of that nature. I'm very passionate about getting people active. I see a lot of people who, they'll tell me, oh, I have to get in shape before I come to the gym. And, a lot of people are intimidated by different exercises, just based on what they may have seen, like on social media, or they've seen other people do, and they're like, oh, I can't do that, there's no way I can do that. So we make sure that all of our classes are beginner friendly. It's a very welcoming environment. We have people from, we train kids all the way up to 70, 80 years old. We do have one of our members just turned 79. So all ages, all sizes. And we also put emphasis on the nutrition aspect because, once you start the journey of working out, for a lot of people it becomes like, okay, this is a part of my routine now, and it's kind of easy to continue to show up. But one of the most challenging parts of the journey for a lot of people is the nutrition piece. And I like to remind people that you can only get so far with one and not the other. And also I like to tie in how both affect mental health. I actually had a client this morning, I trained right before I came here, and she told me that she was having a terrible day and she almost canceled. But after the workout, she said she felt great. Like she forgot all about what had been bothering her, and that happens a lot. And I try to tell people like, hey, you'll feel better after you work out. But if you haven't experienced that, feeling good, it's kind of hard to convince somebody. So, yeah, that's it.
Hello everyone, I'm Beth Price. I'm the Executive Director and President at Out of the Garden Project. Out of the Garden Project is a food insecurity agency. We specialize in bringing fresh, nutritious food into food deserts. We do it Tuesday through Saturday. Some Saturdays we have 3 markets. We're in Guilford County, we're in Alamance County, Randolph County, Stokes County, and it continues to grow, just as Carl said earlier. The need is there and it continues. Every day it's, people always ask me, Beth, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid that there's so many people coming to receive food now? Aren't you afraid you're gonna run out? And I said, no, I'm not. Because every day I have food in my warehouse that I'm able to put in a truck and bring into the neighborhood is a good day. Every day I can give food to a family who doesn't have that. It's a good day. And we're gonna keep doing it, right? We're gonna keep doing it until we have to stop, until someone tells me I have to stop, So I'm really excited to be here to be able to discuss this. This is a very important topic, especially when you look at food insecurity and chronic food insecurity and food insufficiency. You can't really do a whole lot of work with your mind, and you can't learn a lot in school, and you can't really succeed as a child if your family is struggling in this sort of capacity. So I'm looking forward to sharing stories with you today, and we can talk more about the important work. And my goal for you all at the end of today is that you're going to want to come volunteer with me and partner with me and be advocates for the importance of food nutrition in our communities.
Thank all of you. All right, so what we're going to do is we have a whole list of questions. And so I'm going to ask the question and let somebody respond. And so we'll try and get through all of them. Just so you know, one thing I want to make sure we talk about is social determinants of health. That's such an important aspect of the work that we do. So the very first one is, can you explain the gut-brain axis and how our gut health can influence our mental health. Amber, you try that?
Okay.
You know you're the person.
So, the gut-brain axis is the connection between our gut. It includes what we call the enteric nervous system. It includes the microbiome, and then its connection to the brain. So hence the gut-brain axis. And it can profoundly impact mental health. This pathway is bidirectional, so not only does the gut impact the brain, but the brain impacts the gut. And so, it goes without saying, knowing that this exists, food can be used as medicine. It can be used as a way to impact our brain health. And we're seeing this more and more in the research. And, did you want to, I figured you would have something to add to that.
So, a lot of the people that end up coming to see me are in clinical malnutrition. And a malnourished gut is an atrophy gut. So all along, I always tell clients, turn your mouth to your booty is one big muscle. And when you're not getting enough nutrition, there's a couple things that happen. One, the motility of your gut slows down. And all along your intestines, motility is movement, so things take longer to pass through. But in addition to that, all along your intestinal wall, your cells are like fingers, and they're constantly moving. And all along each of those fingers are doors that put enzymes, little proteins, into your gut to help you break down food, and then doors that open to bring. I have a lot of kids and a lot of Legos, so I use a Lego analogy, right? In order to build up in our bodies, we need Legos, we need parts. And the food that we eat breaks down in our system into these little parts, and it goes in through your intestinal cells into your bloodstream to then build up. And an individual who is on a highly restrictive diet or is missing, there's macro and micronutrients. Macro are your fat, your protein, and carbs. If you're not getting enough of any of those particular nutrients, your gut atrophies. So what happens is those cells that are supposed to constantly be waving, they get sleepy, they swell up a little bit, and they get sleepy and they go to sleep. So you have decreased surface area for absorption and decreased ability to digest. So what that then means is that all those Lego pieces, all the different pieces of your food that you're supposed to then bring into your bloodstream to build up things like neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA to make you feel happy, to make you feel calm, or norepinephrine to make you get up and move and have energy, you have a decreased ability to be able to do that. And so what we do in our practice is a lot of times we end up helping people wake up their gut and rehabilitate their gut to get it working again so that they can eat, be nourished, and have all of those building blocks back in their body to make all the things that can help them feel peaceful, calm, be resilient, deal with the struggles of everyday life. So.
I also wanted to add something. So somebody might say, how does that happen? How does somebody's gut end up there? So inflammatory diets, so whether it's fried food, sometimes it's even antibiotics. So you go to the doctor, you're not feeling well, the doctor prescribes an antibiotic. The antibiotic kills the good bacteria that was in your gut in addition to the bad bacteria. Now you have an imbalance in the gut. So if you aren't doing anything to restore balance to the gut, then you get further and further behind. So I just wanted to say that because you often wonder, well, how did I end up this way? And I think even me, I come from a generation, so I call it the penicillin generation. We were always prescribed penicillin for everything. You got a cold, you have, whether it's a flu or not. And I think now, I have smaller kids. You go to the doctor, they will not give you an antibiotic. They'll give you everything besides the antibiotic. I think studies have shown that antibiotics isn't always the right course of action. And so in my home, of course, I'm always doing natural things to put those things in your gut. Just knowing that, I think, means all the difference in our lifestyle habits and choices.
And I can comment one more thing on that too as well, going along with the idea of antibiotics. Some of the things that they're looking at in terms of antidepressant mechanism of action actually has to do with the fact that it's antimicrobial, it's anti-inflammatory. And so looking at the way that the antidepressants actually work, there's a lot of research going into the way that the antidepressants are actually impacting that gut microbiome and shifting its composition. And that may be part of the reason between that and the inflammatory, the inflammatory processes that they are finding for those medications to actually be working. Again, going back to that connection between the gut-brain axis.
Okay, so Alicia, you started just a little bit about your personal story. Why don't you share with the group what you've shared with us? Oh, by the way, Alicia works for me part-time. So.
I have like 5 jobs. Okay, well, my story is how I got into Live Better was first through my life, my testimony, my family background. My father died from a stroke at 37. I lived through my stroke at 37. My oldest brother died at 40 from a heart attack, and the other brother at 48 from diabetes. And the nutrition and health piece, I like to think I'm good. I'm not. But things like magnesium, things that impact your memory, and when you're not well, I don't care about taking medicine. I work with a medical practice for nutrition education, and there's this thing in the Black community about the Tuskegee experiment, and I'm one of those people. When you ask me, do I want a flu shot? No, I don't want your syphilis, man. And I told my friend that, and she's like, you know, do you educate people? Because I have a background history about what the Tuskegee experiment is. And she said, well, we're experimenting on ourselves. You go to the doctor and you haven't been taking one blood pressure medicine and your blood pressure's high. Then they put you on another one, but you're not taking the one you're supposed to. You couldn't forget. I know Carl was good for saying that he doesn't miss anything. But then to put the two things together, when your mood is off, you know, you're not doing what you need to do. You're not eating. You're not taking medicine. And that's anything from a mood change to a more severe mental health diagnoses. And so it is, it's been hard. I had to learn how to walk. And I had a great support system. And I actually, just by accident, learned how to cook. It was my occupational therapy. I came out of the hospital having lost 25 pounds. And then my mother, who used to count on me to cook, gave me plates of rice and gravy with gravy dripping off the side. So, again, the generational health, she's had to change because, and she's able to because of me, but everyone doesn't have that support system. So things that can help give you that health and nutrition literacy are vitally important when you think about kids and breakfast before school to help with alertness, to help with cognitive function. Why wouldn't that be the same for us? You cannot show up in your life if you don't have the nutrition to do what you need to do during the day. I lastly would like to say, I saw Rebecca and it threw me off. The connection between the gut and the head. And when I was learning to walk and I had to learn to use my right hand, they would give me a ball and I would have to move it. And sometimes my fingers didn't unclutch. And I'd have to look at my hand and say, open. And so it takes 25 to 30 minutes for your gut to send a message to your head that you're full. So that, again, reinforces that connection. We don't know how many things. You just walk. Things are natural. You don't think about the hip bone and the muscles and all those things that get activated because there's such a connection through the neck, from the head to the body. And also malnourishment. You mentioned it. When we think of malnourishment, we think of distended bellies in third world countries with, you know, skinny arms. Malnourishment is obesity. Malnourishment is whether it is socioeconomic, whether it is lack of culinary skills, whether it is, that's just what my kid likes to eat. Noodles are killing our children. They get food, but correct, there's no nutrition in it. So your child may be malnourished, but you think you're doing what you need to do. And so you wonder why they're having trouble in school, why there are threats of being held back. The breakfast, if you can't do it, I encourage you, even though it's not the 100% best thing, to get your child enrolled in breakfast at school, because it does impact their behavior, just like us being fully nourished impacts everything.
I really add to hungry children and what an issue it is in our community. 1 out of 4 kids in Guilford County are food insecure. Just a data point. So let me ask the question, whoever would like to answer. What are some of the key nutrients essential for mental health? And how do they affect our brain function? You need to mic on.
Oh, sorry. Omega-3s for sure, which can be found in like fatty fish, like salmon, mackerel, sardines. They also have omega-3 supplements as well. Omega-3s support cognitive function and overall brain health. And also magnesium, which you mentioned magnesium, vitamin B vitamins, like B12, B6, B9, which those can be found in leafy greens, whole grains. They can also be found in eggs as well. Vitamin D also, which can be found in some of those same things, leafy greens, whole grains, also found in dark chocolate. People like to hear that. So yeah, vitamin D, it enhances serotonin and dopamine, which can help with anxiety and depression. I forgot to mention flax seeds and chia seeds with the omegas. Yeah, that's
A couple of thoughts as well. There's some research studies showing a direct link to an iron deficiency in children and their behavior in school. So they found that at 9 months old, if a baby has iron deficiency, they are significantly more likely to be underperforming and not ready for kindergarten. They see a direct relationship between being able to regulate themselves, self-regulation, ability to concentrate, their mood, and hyperactivity, which really surprised me. And I don't know if y'all could comment on this probably better than me, but I thought, wow, hyperactivity, ADD, ADHD in schools, isn't that interesting? And then I also like to back up the omega-3s. They find in schools and studies right now, a lot of people are supplementing. They're giving students multivitamins. And they found that children's relationship with food insecurity by eating the multivitamins, it hasn't changed. It didn't change their behavior in school. It didn't change their relationship with themselves or with those around them, right? Their mental health did not increase. But when they changed it from multivitamins to omega-3s, they stopped saying that they felt hungry. Their food insecurity rate went significantly down. So I think that there's something there with that, with the omega-3s in schools. If anybody wants to partner with me, that'd be a really fun study.
Sugar too, I think. So there's sugar overload. Our society, there's so much sugar in everything, and oftentimes it's hidden, right? So even when we talk about breakfast for kids, I'm really strict. So my kids have to eat eggs because they need the protein also for their brain health and for their concentration in school. I struggle with my daughter because she refuses to eat eggs, and so we get protein in other ways, but Pop-Tarts and what are those other things? Toaster strudels and even muffins, depending on who it's processed. So I talk a lot about teaching families how to shop the perimeter of the grocery store, staying out of the middle aisles, because that's where you're not getting that's where you're getting your processed foods. A lot of times it's processed with wheat, it's processed with sugar. And so from a children's standpoint, especially when you're talking about ADHD, it's ADHD in the brain. That's basically what it is. Sugar in the brain is basically what it is. And so being really mindful about the sugars that we feed our kids, I think, is important. Getting their sugars from natural things like strawberries and blueberries and things of that nature are so vitally important. I also think, we're talking about vitamin specific, I think we also have a responsibility to be intentional. We're so busy, we're running here and there, I gotta go get the kids, they gotta go to practice, we gotta go, so I'm gonna go to this drive-through and I'm gonna get this food that offers no nutrition for my family. And you know what I mean? So we just gotta be mindful to prepare our foods in a different way. Prep to win is what I say. It's one of our programs is Eat to Live. And so we teach people that we what is the opposite? So we eat to live, we don't live to eat. And so how to teach these families even how to prepare food, because we can, one time I had a workshop and we brought fresh food to these families. They don't know how to go home and prepare the food that we taught them. So live cooking demonstrations for our communities to teach them how to prepare these foods fresh out of the garden at the beginning of the week. So let's do a meal prep on a Sunday. Let's prepare our family's meals for the week so we're not privy to having to stop in this drive-through every day. Because I know there's an occasion when you got to stop at the drive-through. But why is it becoming so habitual? Those things affect our mental health too, because we're not getting the nutrition. We lack the nutrition. Hydration, that's another one. Have you had water today? You don't feel well, you feel depressed, you feel down. Are you even hydrated? And somebody will say, I hadn't drunk a cup of water all day long. So stopping and being more intentional about lifestyle habits, I think, is really important. Just want to add that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so, thinking about everything that's been said up here so far, you actually need iron to make the conversions for your amino acids to your neurotransmitters. So, getting to your dopamine, your epinephrine, your norepinephrine, as well as your serotonin. So, you need these cofactors. You need the iron, you need the magnesium, you need the B vitamins, copper, zinc. All of these things are needed, and thinking about expanding it, you mentioned water and thinking about this in a slightly different way, but we're also deficient in fiber, and fiber is like essential. It's really important not only for our gut health, right, our overall health, but also our mental health, because fiber is what feeds that microbiome that we were just talking about with the gut brain. And it creates what they call short-chain fatty acids, which help with inflammation. So I think that there's several different ways we can go with that.
Okay, so we're going to talk about something I'm passionate about, and that's social determinants of health. It's a huge topic. If you look at the data for the Greater High Point area, our overall food insecurity rate is 17%. If you look at the Black community, it's 26%. The 27260 zip code is the fourth poorest in the state of North Carolina. Burnsville, where we do a lot of our work, has the third highest concentration of poverty in the state. There are 24 food deserts in Guilford County, 17 in Greensboro, and 7 in High Point. What this results in is that the 27260 zip code has a 29.5 year difference in life expectancy than the rest of other parts of Guilford County. That means that people in that area live about 30 years less than other parts of the county. Now that's the one number that drives me nuts, because there's no reason for that. But not only is that area of High Point a healthcare desert, food desert is a healthcare desert, and it's a pharmacy desert. So I could talk all day about all this, but these issues impact our children. If you get a chance, and maybe we talk about this for a second, there's a program out there called Adverse Childhood Experiences, and it's a predictor of future health outcomes. So one of the questions we have is, how do social determinants like economic stability, education, and access to healthcare influence nutrition and mental health? Candace, let's go for everybody.
Okay. One of the things that we talk about in school whenever I was in the program, but I also talk about a lot with my clients, is on the plate and off the plate. So off the plate has to do with your finances, your family life situations, stress, your workload, your family situation. So all of the socioeconomic factors that go on off the plate. So that's a plate too. That's your diet too. That's your lifestyle diet. And then we have been talking about your physical plate and the things that you eat to support your mind body, right? But if this plate right here is off balance, and IRS is calling me because I owe all of this money, I'm going through grief because my mom just passed away and she was my everything, and you're going through all of these things, it's almost virtually impossible for someone who has lifestyle habits and things like that going on in their life to even think about or even care about what they put on their physical plate, right? So I think we as a community have to figure out, how do we go in and support the individuals who are struggling with this plate? How do we support their mind? How do we support the mental health aspects? How do we support the physical aspects? I'm living in a neighborhood that doesn't even have a physical grocery store they can go in that has the health foods that they even need. How do we support people in this way first, so that we can start to talk about the things that you need to eat and the vitamins that you need? Because if I don't know where my next meal is coming from, I don't care if it has vitamin B or omegas in it, right? And so it's a really, really great conversation. I'm glad we're having it, because I think that is where we are doing our community a disservice right now. We're not helping them with the factors off the plate.
I think there is a disconnect between the haves and the have-nots. And you may think you're not a have because you're not affluent. But when you think of the social determinants of health and access to health care, if you have a car and you can go to whatever doctor you want to go to, if the doctor, the best in the cardiology is in Lexington, I can drive to Lexington. But when you have to count on public bus system that closes at 6, or may not go, they stop to park, I think, during COVID. So we think, well, there's Medicaid for poor people. Well, you're gonna get what you get with Medicaid, because every doctor doesn't wanna deal with it. They don't wanna deal with the government paying them and having a lower rate than someone that has Humana. You think of that also with I recently did a prison reentry simulation, and I get a lot of, since I've been doing this, especially working on the Greater High Point Food Alliance, what people say shows an overwhelming lack of empathy and knowledge with what other people are dealing with. So to say, stay out of jail, you won't have to deal with this when you get out. You have Medicaid, you can go to the doctor. Like you said, penicillin, they used to take, if you had Medicaid, and I didn't, but everybody just had a tooth pulled, you didn't get filled. You got penicillin. A lot of black children had inhalers. They all had asthma. That's where the diagnosis and the research and the investigation into their health stopped. And not knowing, as parents, that knowledge, that health literacy, that made you less healthy than the person next to you, or maybe at work because your neighbor is dealing with that too. So the socioeconomic and the education, when you think of hearing a number of 29.5, what is the literacy level, not health literacy, but just being able to read and to disenfranchise, no one cares, why vote, all of those things impact. We think it's just exercise, we think it's just eating, but all of these things, the One High Point Commission showed it with redlining. Yes, there is accountability out of the program where it's like the first step out of the doctor's office, your health is in your hands. But you can't help that there's not a grocery store in your neighborhood. Well, move. That's like, you chose that place. No, I live where I can afford, and now that's an even bigger problem. So, we talk about food deserts and food swamps, so if you don't have transportation and you wanna celebrate your first child going to college, where do you have to choose that you can afford, that you can access besides what you have in your neighborhood? And the food swamp is basically an area that only has terrible choices for eating out. So all of those things play a part, and we really need to get people to see that, yes, you need to do your due diligence about your health, but also be involved in things like Out of the Garden Project and Greater High Point Food Alliance that are tackling things that remove obstacles to your health and nutrition.
And if you'll have the microphone back up to you,
Okay.
we'll go all the way down the line, then we'll go all the way down the line.
So I think it's really hard to focus on the mental health aspect, as everybody's touched on, if your basic needs are not met. And basic needs, number one, are making sure you have resources available, but also what to do with those resources. So a lot of times you may have eggs, or you may have dried beans or rice or whatever, but if you don't know how to prep it, or if you have a certain amount of money and don't know how to stock your pantry, let's say you can only get to the grocery store a couple of times a month. What are resourceful, smart ways to stock your pantry that you can stretch the food and have balance within, the amount of resources that you have? So, I work a lot with individuals who, for whatever reason, just don't know how to cook, don't know how to grocery plan, don't know how to take the money they have each week and actually put food on the table multiple times a day. So, I always have the philosophy, you tell me what you have, what's available, what's close by, and we'll make it work. And what is making it work look like? And really trying to coach them, teach them, again, not just providing the resources, but providing opportunities to teach them how to, use those resources wisely. And
Well, I feel like so much has already been touched on at this point. This is a really complex problem, right? I mean, so many social determinants of health, you've got that layered in, and I just keep coming back to this idea of what is that person in survival brain? Are they in survival mode? Because if they are, then everything else takes a back seat. It's not about, what are the better choices, it's about what can I do to survive. So how can we, as a community, make people feel safe, make people, be aware that the resources are out there, which may bring them out of some of that survival mode. How can we increase health literacy and that educational piece? Like, I had a project, for instance, I had a project in school, and I had to live on a SNAP budget for food. And they're like, do what you can do, see how you can play around with it, right? It's doable. But I was a nutrition student. I knew how to play around with it, right? Not everyone else is going to be able to do that. And so how can we bring out ways, talking about, this idea of making use of what's in your area. What is there? What is your level of understanding? How can we now work around to create behavior changes that, one, help you feel safe, help you feel confident, and build your confidence in your knowledge? And so, to bring in that level. So that would be my additional pieces for that.
Can I say one more thing that I forgot? Sorry. You said something that triggered a thought that I meant to mention. I think we can underestimate the power of a family meal. So there has been a lot of research that shows that kids who sit down every night, or at least once a day with their family, they have lower rates of anxiety, depression, and mental health concerns. And so you don't have to have any amount of money to sit down. I mean, you have to have money to eat. But that is something that can be ingrained in your family as a cultural, as a gift to your family, no matter what food you put on the table. And of course, it's important we want to aim for nutritious foods, but kids need to know that they have a sense of community and a sense of belonging and safety within their home environments. And if we can provide, whether that's, maybe mom and dad are split with work schedules and dinner's not doable, maybe you can all sit together, start the day with breakfast, or maybe it's dinner. Trying to be creative to make sure that your kids know they have a place to come home to, that you as a family are in this together, whatever this looks like. It lowers rates of depression and anxiety and mental health concerns all around. And that has nothing to do with the quality of food, but more just that sense of community and the community you were given. So.
And actually communicate during dinner
Right.
instead of going out on everyone's, yeah.
I agree with everything that has already been said so far, but also I think something to consider is that some people don't think it's that important to eat healthy. Like a lot of people just associate eating healthy with physical appearance. Like, oh, I'm just gonna eat healthy, to look a certain way, but not really understanding the value of quality food choices beyond just, physical appearance. And a lot of times when people can't afford to eat healthy, it's just not a priority. It's just like, I'm just happy that I ate today. Like, I don't need to go above and beyond to try to find quality food. But also, again, I think that's because people don't understand the value of quality food beyond, just, the surface level stuff. And I feel like if more people who have food insecurities understood the mental health benefits of, quality food choices, then people would kind of use their resources a little better and, work hard to make better choices.
I love it. Everything's so good. I want to share a couple of stories around this. Some of the things I heard had a lot to do, it sounded a lot like unconscious bias, that we can make assumptions about other people and about other people groups and about neighborhoods. And it can be all well good intending, right? Like I could try to get my kids to eat something, or I just assume that they're gonna eat it because I put it on their plate. Well, and then I leave, but I don't know what they did with that plate, right? Like I didn't ask the question, I didn't communicate. And I think that that's so important as a food bank, as a mobile food unit. And it's so important as, you're all leaders in your homes and your work establishments. Like what you do matters, right? And so if you don't ask the questions, then you're not gonna hear the answers. And can I tell you, one of the questions I asked recently is the bags that you get at school, the weekend bags that Guilford County, we have so many who do it, and it's such a wonderful, needed program. The kids at school get a bag and they bring it home for the weekend and provide some food so they can eat. Well, my unconscious bias is that it's food, it's protein, it's vegetables, it's good, right? They should be able to eat that, but not everybody knows what to do with what they get. And there are people groups who don't eat black beans in Greensboro and in High Point, and I did not know it was a cultural thing. And I had one social worker at Bessemer Elementary School. She said, Beth, I don't give that to my black and my brown students. I don't give them black beans because that is a symbol of poverty and it impacts their mental health. I said, black beans are so good for your heart. She goes, I know, but that is a cultural thing that I'm working on. I said, well, what do you do with them? She goes, well, I switch it out. I give it to my Hispanic students. I said, really? They like the, and that's my unconscious biasness, right? Like I had no idea that beans were a part of a culture, okay? And, oh, you didn't know that? I didn't either. I was like, maybe it was a community thing, I don't know. And, I hope I'm not offensive in saying those things, but, I'll wrap it up. But some of the things that I've been told through our mobile markets is, that there's a food insecurity where when you're food insecure, you are able to share those kind of experiences. And I like this, I don't like this, this works well, this is a cultural thing, this is not a cultural thing, and we can get better with that. But when you're food insufficient, meaning you're chronically hungry, and there's no way to talk about mental health, and those sort of situations, they are accepting everything that you give them. And there was one market that we were in. There was a woman that was coming through. We had a bad batch of bread. We didn't catch it before we brought it out there, so my staff and volunteers were sorting through the bread. They're getting rid of all the moldy bread. And a person walks up, one of them, they're there to receive food. They walk up and they say, "What are you doing with all that bread?" And I said, "Oh, it's moldy. We don't want to give you moldy bread. You deserve better than moldy bread." She says, "Let me have that." No, ma'am. No, give me that moldy bread. So she takes that moldy bread. She goes up the corner, she sits underneath the tree, and she proceeds to tear off the mold and eat the bread. And it was such a heartbreaking moment to see that she is so hungry, she's gonna go over here and eat bread that's moldy. So that way she can then, at that point in time, have enough energy to receive a box of produce and bags of meat and bread and be able to bring that home with them. So I think that at the end of the day, having conversations with your loved ones, with your friends, with your families, with your neighbors, and identifying what are ways that we can help each other become a more healthy community.
So I want to add something what everybody said. We have over 120 languages in the Guilford County school system. We're one of the most culturally diverse places in the United States, and we must not. High Point's population is 14% foreign-born, 14%. That's twice the state average. So it's oftentimes a group of individuals that get overlooked. The second big issue is our seniors in our community. They're really struggling today. And we have a lot of seniors that are raising grandchildren. So what we want to do now is that we want to see if there's any questions you would like to ask the panelists. Because I think we could all talk for days and days and days about this stuff. We'll be respectful of your time. Does anybody have any questions for this group? Yes, ma'am.
So, my name is Woman Kane, and my question is for you, anybody can answer it, but is fasting something that you guys discuss within your practice? Since fasting that it does have benefits as well?
I think it's a tough question for me. Okay, so everything that I do in my consultative business is consultative, right? Because just because fasting works for me doesn't mean it's gonna work for Alicia, right? So I'm not that person who's gonna tell you the latest and greatest, and so everybody should do fasting until 12 noon. I'm not going to tell you to do that because sometimes it causes individuals to have low blood sugar levels. And then, so how are you supporting yourself? And so we have to talk one-on-one about what your lifestyle choices are like, what your numbers are, what your blood work looks like before I would recommend fasting. So that's me personally. Same.
So I'm not a big proponent of intermittent fasting. Most of the population that most of the population I work with are really good at fasting, and it tends to trigger really negative medical consequences. And so I think that I work more to help stabilize blood sugar, help with consistency, help with adequacy, but am hesitant to promote any type of fasting on a consistent basis. I think there are religious groups that encourage fasting, but oftentimes what my experience has been when I've dived in with the client or the patient in front of me, usually whatever religious interest on their fasting is for a short term. It's not for long-term duration, and it's fasting for a purpose for a short term, not a daily or weekly or monthly habit for health purposes. So as a general rule of thumb, I am not a big supporter of intermittent fasting, just because I tend to see people who have really had significant medical complications because there are genes in our body that under certain types of stressors can turn on, and it triggers acute starvation and starvation responses in our body. And I think that can be a really slippery slope, just in my experience. So in clinical practice, I don't typically recommend it for that.
Any other questions? Yes.
What is your opinion? Have you heard of any studies about the keto diet and mental health and mental wellness?
Yeah. In general, cutting out any main food group for a long period of time is, I find, doesn't tend to go well. I often tell clients, I know I use Legos earlier, I'm going to use a Ferris wheel this time, but if you think about every cell in our body has a Ferris wheel of energy. And if you picture a Ferris wheel, there's the structure, there's the seats, and then you have to have the nuts and bolts to put the Ferris wheel together. Trust me, you want the nuts and bolts. But the Ferris wheel itself requires fat, protein, and carbohydrates. And then the nuts and bolts are your vitamins and minerals. Your body really needs all of those in a decent amount, adequate amount, consistent amount to function well and to be consistent. When the keto diet cuts out a major food group, it really limits it. And so I think you can see some short-term benefit from it, but long-term you end up putting your body into a significant place of deficiency. And so as a general rule of thumb, I think it's better to work on stabilizing blood sugar. And sometimes, so keto is pretty significantly low carb. I think a lot of individuals benefit from higher fat, higher protein, and moderate carbohydrate intake, especially as adults, not growing children. I think growing children have much different needs than people who are pregnant or adults at different points in life. So I see maybe like a moderate carb diet being more helpful long term. I also think people who do keto have, it may work for a while, but because the main fuel source your body prefers is glucose, ketones are your emergency fuel, your brain will kick it in, it will beg for glucose. And a lot of times people who do keto end up doing binge style behavior, and they do that because their body craves glucose. And so I find, and then they'll have like rebound weight gain. So I find that it's much better to perhaps do more of a modified intake where it's moderate carbohydrate, high fat, high protein, just to help keep blood sugar stable, which then helps keep weight stable, mood stable, insulin stable, and all of that.
And I'll say too, with some of these that, have been brought up, you're talking about very specific therapeutic diets. And so is there a time and a place? Yes, absolutely. But is that time and place meant for everyone? No, it's not. So, that's where working with someone who's a licensed nutrition professional can be very effective, because they can help you tease out, what does that look like? Is this something that would be helpful short-term? Therapeutic diets are often short-term, very short-term. They're not meant to be forever. So, going down a path, especially with a significant shift in macronutrients and things of that nature, definitely a time that you would want to work with the dietitian.
I personally don't believe in diets, because I think that diets give individuals the impression that all I have to do is what you say, and I'm going to have the same result as you. And that's just not true. I think if we reach within and figure out what our bodies like and what our bodies don't like, our bodies talk to us. You have a meal, you get indigestion, your body's not able to digest whatever it was that you just got finished eating. So what did I just eat? Okay, I'm going to try to remove that, because I don't think my body can digest this food that I'm eating. Listening to your body as you eat. We have to be mindful in that way. I don't like to tell people to eat this, this, and that, and you're going to lose 10 pounds this week, because it's just not true. Our metabolism are different. Our structure, our molecular structures are different. The cellular, our cells are different. And so I think we all do ourselves justice if we just figure out what works for you. And sometimes it is reaching out to a consultant to help you figure out what your lifestyle choice should be. It's not a diet or short term. It's my new lifestyle habit, is sugar-free first. And so whatever that is, it doesn't have to be some structured diet that someone has published as the latest fad in nutrition.
Okay. So we're going to wrap up now. First off, please give the panelists a round of applause. I'm so glad that we've been talking about this, as we first started talking about mental health and food insecurity years ago. And people looked at us as we were nuts. You would not believe the emails I've gotten over time and what they've been like. But we ask that you carry this conversation forward. Share with others what you have learned. I want to thank the sponsors, the Foundation for Healthy High Point, the Pinnacle Bank, the Pinnacle Insurance Group. We really appreciate you doing this. Taking time out of your day. If there's any way that we can work with each other, work together, please reach out to us and let us know. And Miranda, since you're the one that brought all this together, we'll give you the last word.
Thank you all.
Everybody has to say the wonderful afternoon. Thank you very much.
Oh, yes, if you
Oh,
all can
QR.
please give us back your honest feedback on the QR code on your table, please. And any questions or concerns, please contact me or Eric Fouché directly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have the QR code? I would like by now to say hi to the kids. It's going to put out, we can get nationalized for mental health. But we were like, I sent email, because I volunteered with them. Sent email to the first time, you know, a lot of people are struggling.
So we just try all help.
Yeah, now I can tell
Create the avenue for people to have access to what they need.
Yeah, I know.
And it's not just every time. And it is, you know, when you've had a failure 2 or 3 times, you stop trying. Or when you have a bad experience, you don't want to, you know, set yourself up for that. Well, and opportunity to get some I've learned a lot of things today. Thank you. Let's see. I heard you say you're
Okay, when I come back. Right now I'm coming that way.
Alright, then. Yeah, and then getting back to food. Yes.
Thank you for coming. That's what the big old picture about. Yes, exactly. Yes, thank you for coming today.
Well, and it also affects all of our or we change or whatever, or can't sleep, or, a lot of times that contacts
Yes, okay. So this is, we got how many panels?
Oh, right there. I'll take that. You're gonna turn into the photographer. Yeah, we'll take it. How